Right. Okay, I think let's get started. So what I want to show you today is how we can easily implement the Zyte API into Scrapy. There is a Zyte API package and pip that we've built and maintain that makes this very, very easy. And you can, start up a spider and start using the API very, very quickly. And that includes all the API features as well that you could be after. So what we're going to do in this short demo is I'm going to show you where you might want to use the Zyte API and what for, and we'll put it into a simple scrapey project, and then we'll build out a spider at the end using some more of the features as well, so you get a better idea of it a little bit more. So I'm just going to try and share my screen at the moment. Let's make sure I get the right thing. And hopefully I can put myself up here on it as well, which I can. And I'm going to move myself over here. There we go. So what we've got here is my Scrapey project up here. So I'm just going to go to the spiders at the moment, and we'll have a look at a sort of a traditional style spider that you might see. Actually, let me know if there's any issues. Make sure you can see everything all right. I don't get a lot of feedback from it. So this is a pretty straightforward spider. What we're doing is we're going to go off to this URL, and this is obviously JavaScript render page. So we're just going to try making basic requests to this, and obviously we all know that this isn't going to work. As we can see here, there's some logging in here that's going to tell us that. Outside of that, we would have the quotes returned to us. So if I go out and run this now and we do scrapey crawl on this, we're going to see that we hit these here. So we're not finding anything, and that's because there's nothing to be found on this page with basic HTML requests, basic HTTP requests. So we want to actually utilize the Zyte API for this to actually render the pages for us, so we don't have to worry about using any browsers or anything like that. It's all handled. And it's also going to handle any of the bans that you might encounter on the sites that you're trying to scrape there. So I'm going to open my project back up, and I'm going to head over to the Scrapey settings. And this is where we need to put in a few extra settings. So you'll need to pip install the Zyte API Python package. This repo, there'll be a link to it. If Lakshay's got it, he can paste it in. Otherwise, we'll put it in afterwards. So you've got access to this. It's got lots of things, lots of useful hints and things in here as well. So I have my settings file, and the only things we need to add in here is we need to enable this, which is our add-ons, and this is going to take care of everything for us. And then you need to add in your Zyte API key. Now, obviously, I've added mine in here from the virtual environment on my machine. I suggest you do the same. It's never a good idea to put your API keys directly into your projects at all. So I'm getting mine from my virtual environment, and I'm just importing it with OS, which you can see at the top of the screen here. I'm importing OS. So this is it. These are the only three things you really need to add to make it all work. Add in the add-ons here and add in your Zyte API key. So now I'm going to go ahead and quit out of this, and we're going to run our traditional spider again, and we'll see that we get our errors up here. And now let's have a look at our new Zyte spider that we have added in here. So there's some notes in here which might find useful. And all we need to do is we need to yield out scrapey requests utilizing the meta here. Now, there is something called transparent mode, which means when you enable that in your settings, that every request will go through the Zyte API. However, for these examples, I'm going to be adding it into the meta keys here for all the requests that we make. So this is the same site basically, and we're going to yield out our scraper request, and we're going to say, hey, give us the browser HTML for it. And that basically means we're going to be, sending it off to the Zyte API. We're going to be asking it to render the JavaScript for us, and then it's going to return that data back to us, all into our scrapey project, directly back into our scrapey workflow. So we don't need to worry about anything else. This is all going to do it for us. And then from here, you can see we are just yielding some of the information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this now, and we'll go scrapey crawl. I think it's called Zyte API solution. So this is going to go out and we can see that right away here, it's going to go and get these pages. Now, there's a little bit of warm up time, obviously, because we've got to get everything going. But now we can start to see here, here's the text and the method for the information that we got. Now, by running this through the browser HTML, not only has it rendered the page, but it's also going to get us through any blocking and anything like that. It utilizes the full Zyte API. So with just those, adding your API key, which there'll be a link for you to get if you don't have one already, you can go and get one. There's some free, there'll be free credits to utilize, and you can there's a whole playground where you can test the sites that you're interested in. We can see that it's just this simple. It's not taking us out of our scrapy workflow, which for me is the most important thing, because what it's doing is it's just utilizing it off as an add-on. So we're basically just using that Zyte API and bringing it back into our scrapy project. The response is still a standard response. We have access to it. We can work with it however we need to, and also it's going to give us the data back reliably that we want. So I'm going to come back into my settings again. When you go to the bottom, there are other settings that you might want to think about using. They're a bit more specific, but they can be useful. So there's a whole, I would go ahead and check out the documentation, which we have on the Zyte website. That'll be linked somewhere, where you can see, how everything that you would need, anything specific. So what I want to do now is I want to make this a little bit further. So if you're not familiar with our API, you know that we do automatic extraction for product types. So if we go to our initial spider here, we're only pulling like a few bits of information. Where is it? We're only pulling a couple of bits of information. Now, I don't want to sit here and go through a website and pull out CSS selectors or XPaths whilst you watch me trudge through it all and then decide what bits of text I want and bits of text I don't want, which is why we have the automatic extraction in our Zyte API. And this is like a really powerful feature which integrates directly into Scrapy as well. As I said earlier, a response is just a response, and part of that response, when we call the API, when we choose to, with one of the standard schemas, which we're going to do in just a second, we'll get the data back in there, which we can then move around our project. So I'm going to build a new spider now. We're going to utilize the Zyte API, and we're going to utilize the product schema. This is going to have a specific predetermined set of data points that our API is going to utilize AI and all that sort of stuff, machine learning, to pull out the data that you want, that it thinks that you want, and then it's going to send it back to us. Now we can tweak that. I'm going to say that that's possibly slightly out of scope of this, but I'm going to do more on the API and Scrapy stuff coming up. So make sure you stick around the Discord, because I've got loads of cool stuff planned for that. So I'm going to create my spider. So if I do Scrapy, Gen Spider, I have a products one. I'm going to open this up in products. I'm using a new keyboard, and my typing is atrocious as it is anyway. Right, so we're going to change a few things here. We don't want start URLs. We're going to do start requests. So I'm going to say our start requests. Now, start request is technically deprecated now, I think, but I'm going to use it for the moment anyway, because that's what I tested with, and I don't want to sit here and have stuff not work in front of everyone because I didn't try it that way. Then we're going to yield our scrapy.request. And again, here we can put in the URL. So what I'm going to do actually is let's go and grab some URLs first and create a little list. I'm just going to pull them over from my other screen. Let's put this one in here. We'll start with one for now, and we'll expand. So we're going to say we want the URL. So we're going to yield a request for every URL from our list. So we can say, hey, maybe you're monitoring 1,000 products and you've got the list stored somewhere. Probably not in your Spider file. Do that in a CSV or something, or from your database, and import it in. And now we want to go ahead and add in the meta. So this is where we're going to determine what happens in the when we call the Zyte API. I can't get rid of this. I'm just configuring my editor again. I've got this horrible thing up. You'll just have to bear with me a second. So we need to put in our Zyte API auto map like this. From here, we want to call in here another dictionary, and this is going to be our product is going to be true. So this should work for us. Now, if this doesn't, for some reason, we need to add in the browser rendering, the browser HTML. That's another thing we can put in. We can put in, browser HTML like we had in our other project, in our other spider. So that's going to do this, I believe. And then here, out from our response, we are going to have a new key in our response that's going to have the product information. So I'm going to do response dot raw API response, and we're going to call the product key like so. Right, so that's a very straightforward, simple spider where we're going to hopefully get this information back unless I've done something wrong, but this is the way I work. I will just try it and, we'll see what happens. If it fails, what do we do wrong? Set URL. Okay, cool, that's fine. We can fix that. There we go. Started with a list and didn't finish week one. There we are. I'm going to add some more URLs in a minute. So we are going off and we can see what's coming back, and we should hopefully now end up with a load of product data, all neatly formatted into JSON for us. And it should come back with all of the standard schema points that we want, or we probably want from this product. And we can see it here. This is not formatted that neatly, but you can see, because this is just the log. We've got the name, the price, currency, raw currency, a load of image URLs. And this is all from just adding in that meta key, product is equal to true. And that's going to give us all this information, so you don't have to mess around trying to pass a load of stuff and all of that, and it's just going to make it so much easier for you. So let's grab a few more URLs. I'm just going to go over here and pick some up, some more trainers, and we'll go back to our spider. Stick this in. Oh, not used to the Mac. There we go. Let's grab another one. And what I'm going to do this time is we are going to output this to our shoes.json. I'm going to use JSON will be fine. Cool, so let's run this and we should now get our 3 URLs. We can see, these are all happening at the same time because we're calling it asynchronously. So, we don't have to wait for each one to go happen one after the other. Scrapy gives that to you automatically, and the Zyte API will handle that. So now if I go and open up my shoes.json and format this, oh, I don't have format on my JSON. Oh, that's annoying. And we can see it all here. So this is kind of like how I start doing my projects, really. I love Scrapy because of the power that it has, to be able to quickly and easily, start making things and creating things. And this is dead simple. This is a fully functioning spider, essentially. You probably want to add in a pipeline and maybe the items, but apart from that, this is simple and straightforward, but it's going to work, and it's going to work well. And the integration, as I said, with the Zyte API is as simple as putting your API key into this here and enabling these add-ons. So what I'm going to do now is I think that this is going to be a bit of a shorter demo. I appreciate that there may possibly, I'm only scratching the surface here. But as I said at the beginning, we want to do more of these and we want to go more in depth. This is just kind of like the first one, a real quick taster. So on our Discord, we will be having, much more going on along these lines. I'll be running a lot more workshops. There'll be a lot more complicated spiders being built up. But this was just kind of a taster just so you can kind of really see and get the idea of what you can achieve and how quickly and easily it is to integrate in the Zyte API with Scrapy. And because, it's built by Zyte and Scrapy is managed by Zyte, that, these integrate extremely well and are extremely powerful together. So I'm going to call it there for the moment. I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. And I don't know if we took any questions at the start or not. I can see probably not. So I think that's going to do it for this one. And it's quite short and sweet. But as I said, there'll be more coming. There'll be the repo, which is very useful if you've never done this before. Check out Neha's repo, which will be linked somewhere. You can clone that and that'll have everything in there that you need. You just need your API key, which is free. You'll get free credit, which will go quite a long way. And you can play around with it there. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one, guys. I really appreciate you all coming along. Keep an eye on the Discord for more events. We're going to do these as often as we can and share as much as we can. So thanks for dropping by, and I will see you again in the next one.